You're listening to Let's Stay Together, a podcast about Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're discussing chapters 69 and 70. Yay.
Woo.
Actually, these are also really good. They're just as good as the last ones that we read. I'm so excited. Listen. So we're going to do our summary discussion and spoilery discussion like we always do. Chapter 69 opens with Yuki's memory of his childhood and confinement. I don't remember much about the old Rin, he thinks/narrates, and we see him in the special room, and Haru comes to visit him with Rin. They look like they're maybe in late elementary school or like early middle school by their age, and Haru's ears are already pierced, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, like 3 times.
Yes. So I was like thinking about this, and I was like, how old are they? Well, my mom didn't let me get my ears pierced till I was 12, so it must be. And then I was like, there's no way to rationalize this. They're whatever age they are. Like, anyway, aside from New Year's,
Some people pierce baby ears.
Yeah, I know, but I seriously doubt that they would pierce baby Haru's ears 3 times.
Baby boys in
Japan
in Japan in
80s or 90s or whatever.
Old high-regarded families like that, but
yeah, no. Somehow I doubt it. Somehow I feel like he was the kind of child who snuck off and was like, went to Claire's by himself and got them pierced by himself.
Or like had a friend do it at camp with a needle and a lemon.
That's not a reference to
Parent Trap.
Parent Trap, yes. I was like, it takes 2? No, wait. Aside from New Year's, I only saw her the few times that she came to visit me in my room with Haru, Yuki narrates. She would always keep quiet and sit by herself in the corner. Before I could say anything, she would get up and say, I've had enough, I'm going home. Yuki always thought that if that was all she was going to do, then why'd she bother to come at all? In the present, Tohru finds out on a phone call with her aunt that her grandfather is bedridden. Shigure and Yuki overhear her on the phone and look concerned. She learns from her aunt that he just threw out his back and all he needs to do is rest, nothing more serious than that. Tohru looks somewhat relieved but still concerned. Her aunt also brings up the upcoming parent-teacher conference and Tohru says, please don't trouble yourself. More importantly, you have to visit Grant. Hello? I've taken the phone, Shigure says, suddenly taking the phone from behind Tohru and kind of resting his hand on her head. He talks to Toru's aunt, turning on the charm, and we see him chuckling and smiling. And meanwhile, Yuki comes up and asks Tohru about her grandfather. She says, yes, he threw out his back, and she trails off, and we see her expression darken, her eyes hollow, briefly overwhelmed. Well, if you'll excuse me, Shigure says, and hangs up the phone suddenly, and Yuki and Tohru freak out, which snaps Tohru out of whatever kind of emotional experience that she's having that we see in that one panel. Yuki sasses him, you can't just hang up like that, and Shigure's like, why? We were done talking. He passes on to Tohru that she can visit her grandfather tomorrow, and he'll be going to her parent-teacher conference instead. Toru's like, and Yuki's like, another one of your crazy schemes, huh? And Shigure's like, what? Tohru says that she couldn't possibly make him go to all the trouble, and he says that he's looking forward to it with a bright smile, but then is also secretly excited to see the look of disgust on great teacher Maiko's face when he shows up. Because in case you forgot, they're exes, right? Yeah. Please regard me kindly, Tohru says and bows, tears of gratitude welling up in her eyes. Shigure chuckles and Yuki wonders, is he really someone Honda-san should have to bow to? Kyo arrives home at that time and asks why everyone is gathered around, and they explain the situation. He asks if Tohru will visit her grandfather tomorrow, and she says yes. Tohru smiles and she continues to discuss things with Shigure and Yuki, but Kyo doesn't hear her words. His expression suddenly darkens, and he suddenly announces that he's going to bed. Okay, good night, Tohru says, and looks after him a little bit confused as he goes up the stairs. Yuki looks annoyed as well, but then Shigure brings up that he needs to speak to his parents about the parent-teacher conference as well, and he becomes lost in his own thoughts. In Yuki's thoughts, we see images of Kyo, his mother, moments with Akito, Tohru, and Kyo from the beach trip. There's still problems I'm holding off on addressing, he thinks. Things to put in order, things I ought to settle, things I should realize starting now. It's not that I don't want to, I'm just lost as to what my top priority should be. At school the next day, Momiji and Haru talk to Tohru and Yuki. They talk about Tohru's grandfather, and Haru is like, a man's back is his life. And Tohru is like, really? And Momiji looks concerned as well. And Yuki tells her not to take Haru too seriously.
I have an important question.
Yes?
Is he playing a Game Boy Advance?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It does look like that. I forgot to make a note of that. Yeah, he's sitting there and he's playing a thing that looks suspiciously like a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. I Googled the timeline. I was like, I think that came out around then. It's like a 2001 release for the game system.
Yeah. Yes, I remember that I was in middle school, so it's probably like 2001, 2002, something like that.
Yeah.
So it seems like the right time. There's times later where people start to have cell phones. Actually, Kagura had a cell phone, right? So it's also kind of around the same time. He has like a flip phone, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that's been showed yet, but yeah. Actually, he might have.
I thought he answered it. Didn't he?
I think he like checked something on it. Yeah.
Well, he was like asleep, and then his phone rang or something in that one chapter, I think.
Yeah, but yeah,
it's funny.
It's definitely the time of flip phones and Nokias and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And Game Boy Advances.
Yes.
Yuki tells Tohru not to take Haru too seriously, and they also talk about Kyo. Tohru, looking concerned, says that he might be on the roof and that he seems down. A man's blue day, Haru asks, looking directly at Yuki, and Yuki's like, Haru, don't look at me when you say that. Momiji smiles and says it's not a reason for Tohru to be down too, and cheerfully suggests that they go get some juice. And Tohru smiles and they start to leave together, holding the hands of the stuffed bunny that Momiji was holding together, which is really funny and cute. Behind them, Yuki and Haru have a conversation as they're walking away. Haru says that Momiji is like an air purifier. Yuki asks how things have been with Rin, and Haru says that nothing new has happened. Yuki says it might be difficult to talk to her because she's stubborn. Yeah, you're right, Haru says. But the more time passes, the more I think that what she said is the way that she feels. Haru remembers Rin in a bed, perhaps in a hospital. Her eye and her neck are bandaged. I don't need you anymore, she says in the memory. I'm tired of you. Rin has a sharp tongue, he tells Yuki in the present. But she won't say things just to protect herself either. I guess I don't have confidence after all. I guess I'm just scared, maybe, Haru says, looking down away from Yuki. Maybe her words hurt me more than I realized. Machi, the student council treasurer, runs into Yuki and Haru in the hall at that time. Yuki greets her. I hope to see you at the next student council meeting. Okay, she says and bows and leaves. In this case, Machi is always drawn kind of like her, like slumped, like her shoulders are kind of slumped. Mm-hmm. This is how she looks when she walks away too, and her face is always kind of like slack, like there's very little emotion. And we've always seen her drawn in this way. I don't know, something about the way that she acts stands out to me in this scene. But anyway, because of that, it turns out that Machi is in Haru's class. Haru asks Yuki how the student council is going, and he says, I'm not sure. I really have no idea how it's going to turn out. That's a good thing for you, Yuki, Haru says. Momiji and Tohru, who've been waiting in the doorway all this time during this conversation and while Machi walked by them, call for them to catch up. And then we transition away. After school, Yuki arrives at the Soma estate. He grimaces but looks determined as he enters. Two maids that are purposely drawn faceless greet him. It turns out that Yuki's mother is away and passes on a notice from the school for the maids to give to her. It took a lot of energy for me to drag myself here, he thinks, looking disheartened. But as usual, she's not even home. He asks where Akito is, and the maids tell him that the head of the family is also out. His condition seems to have improved recently. While in the house, Yuki passes by a room, his room, where he was confined as a child. He remembers himself sitting inside, on the floor, looking out of the window, and pauses. Later outside, he runs into Kagura. Yuki asks her about Rin. She's staying at your house, right? If I waited, do you think I could see her? Kagura hums, and says there are a lot of days when she doesn't even come home. Sometimes she doesn't even show up at school. She's an enigma, she says. Kagura asks why Yuki wants to see her, and he says it's nothing. I sort of want to talk to her. Then he asks if something happened with Kyo yesterday. Kagura's eyes are swollen, and Kyo has been sort of distant as well. Even to Tohru-kun? Kagura asks with a rueful smile, and then covers her eyes and says, oh, never mind, forget I asked. It's just that I'm fighting the pain of a lost love. But I'm fine, she says, looking away with a lighter smile now. Caring for someone isn't based on logic. You can't really rationalize emotions. Once I think I like him, it's all over. We see a scene at school. Kyo watches as Tohru leaves, and there's a narration, which I think is Yuki's, that says, to feel that way about someone with such conviction. I'm sorry, Kagura was about to say, but then she sees Yuki looking sort of forlorn as well, and the narration continues. It makes me jealous because it seems like he knows exactly where she stands. She's not lost like I am right now. She just, with all her heart. And the narration trails off, and we see Yuki walking alone later. The wind rustles, and he notices something in the woods, and he runs. Rin, he shouts, and he catches up with her, grabbing her wrist. He asks what she's doing near the house, and Rin tries to take off, and he says, wait, Rin, listen to me. Rin doesn't say anything, but she stops struggling to get away. What are you doing? Yuki asks. Why are you alone? What are you trying to do? Rin, did you mean those things that you said when you broke up with Haru? Rin looks troubled by this question. Yuki continues, I heard from Haru that you two were going out. Rin, there's something I remembered recently. We return to the same memory of Yuki in the room from the beginning of the chapter. You would always say I'm going home, he says, but now that I think about it, every time you left, it seemed like it was right before someone came to check on me. We see Yuki's mother in the memory, I think, opening the door. Her face is in shadow, and she checks on Yuki. That was definitely it. Back then, Akito wouldn't have allowed anyone in my room, but Haru would come see me anyway. You were protecting him, weren't you, Rin? You kept guard so Haru wouldn't get in trouble. Back then I never realized it, but even now, he says, you're trying to protect Haru from something, aren't you? I was wondering what you want to talk about, Rin says. I should have known it would be absurd. There's no way that you remember something from that long ago, and I honestly don't care about Haru either. Why are you always so eager to talk anyway? I thought I told you it's my business. Anyway, talking isn't going to help anything. You're just an idiot who doesn't know anything. Rin looks back at Yuki, ferocity in her eyes. Do you know why you're able to live at Gurini's house? Haru begged him to get you out of there. Yuki's shocked. He remembers Shigure inviting him to come stay. Haru wanted to help you. Back then, Gurini stupidly said, I will if you call me sensei. And the idiot that he is, Haru kept his promise. Yuki remembers a conversation with Haru. It looks like they're carrying some boxes, like maybe moving him from one place to the other or something. He asks if Haru always called Shigure sensei, and he says yeah, because sensei's a sensei. In the present, Yuki looks down, dismayed. But the biggest idiot is you piece of shit, so why don't you go back to school, or wherever it is idiots like you do, and don't ever bother me again, Rin says. Come on now, he's not that bad, a voice calls, and Rin and Yuki are both surprised to realize that Haru has found them. It's nice to call people pieces of shit, Rin, he says, and that's the end of chapter 69. At the beginning of chapter 70, we see Kyo out on the streets. He passes some kids and stops, and he looks over and sees Tohru and follows. Back in the woods, Yuki asks what Haru is doing. He says he came to visit Sensei's house. Rin looks down, away from him. He gives Yuki his backpack back, which it turns out that he dropped when he had chased after Rin before. Haru reaches out to Rin. You stay the hell away from me. Don't you dare touch me, she says, and Haru drops his hand. You really don't need me, he asks. Rin says nothing. I see. In that case, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter if I die. A page reveals Rin's look of frightened realization. Haru looks back with smoldering defiance. I'm pretty proud of myself for writing that sentence. I just want to throw it out there. He closes the distance between them, holds her, and kisses her. They continue to embrace after the kiss, Rin's head against Haru's shoulder. Of course I'm lying about dying, he says. Rin, did I not understand something? He remembers them together in the past. In the memory, they look into each other's eyes, and he caresses her cheek. I thought I understood everything about you, but maybe I got so complacent that I failed to hear you call out to me when you needed me most. Rin, he says, remembering another time from the past. Rin is in a school uniform, lying on the ground. Are you still like on that day, unable to stand on your own? Rin's eyes widen, she slaps Haru, and then runs off. But, Haru says, remembering the same time, she was crying so much. He looks at his empty hand and then clenches into a fist. Yuki asks if Haru is sure that he doesn't want to chase after her, and Haru says that when Rin runs off in determined mode, there's no way he can catch up to her. She's the horse after all. I don't know how you can be so carefree, Yuki says, and Haru's like, that's where you're wrong. I'm really starting to come to my senses. Haru apologizes for exposing Yuki to Rin's poison tongue, quote-unquote, and tells him not to worry about it too much. You have your own things you need to be strong about, right, Yuki? And Haru says again that joining the student council was good for him. Yuki looks annoyed. Really, he asks, you think so? Is that what's best? Making yourself top priority? He remembers Rin telling him what Haru did for him earlier and thinks, aren't there things that should come even before that? It's not like I can stand on my own right now. He thinks of Tohru and Haru, the two people who support him. I can't give anything back, but should I choose myself? Why are you so lost, Haru asks. Yuki, you're weak, he says, which of course is taken harshly by Yuki. But, Haru adds, you're also kind. Yuki's eyes widen and he thinks of Ayame. Don't stay lost, find the place where you truly want to be, Haru says. Yuki says that Haru is too nice to him, and Haru suggests that perhaps they were sisters in a past life, which cracks Yuki up in his Yuki way, and Haru smiles. It's because you're like that, Yuki, that I know that there's someone out there who will understand you, and someday you'll find each other, Haru says. He remembers how they met as children, Yuki in that room and Haru outside the window. Until then, keep doing your best, Haru says. Yuki covers his eyes with his hand, and tears roll down his cheeks. Yuki narrates as we transition away, and we also see Rin sitting in the woods, hunched over as if she's tired, prominent scar visible on her shoulder blade. And then we see Tohru arriving at her grandfather's house. I can't stand up on my own. I can't go any farther, not all by myself. At Tohru's grandfather's house, she visits him. He stays lying down in a kind of traditional room, incense burns in the background, and a cat comes and snuggles his face, which is cute. Tohru Toru's grandfather asks about the parent-teacher conference, and she says that it's all worked out. Tohru asks how he's doing, and he says he's fine other than the back, but all he does is sleep. For the first time in a long time, he says, I dreamt of Katsuya and Kyoko-san, Toru's parents. The cat leaves the room as he explains that he didn't have a good relationship with Katsuya. It was like Kyoko-san became the bridge between us, he says, and he remembers them. I don't think we've seen Toru's father yet.
Not really. I think we've seen, like, bits and pieces of him. Like,
yeah. I mean, this is still...
You know, you get, like, the cut-off panels or, like, shadow face kind of things. But...
That's right. I think there was, like, a half panel of his face from earlier, but this is the first time we've seen the two of them together. So Katsuya, we can see, is tall. It's still from behind. It's still not his face.
Yeah.
Katsuya is tall with dark hair, and Kyoko, of course, is much shorter, and she looks younger, and her hair is long. Like, this is a memory from her gang days or when she was much younger, like before she had short hair. Katsuya himself was a bit peculiar, Toru's grandpa says, so I wondered if things would work out between them, but they seem very happy. But now they're both gone, aren't they? And we see a memory of Tohru holding a portrait. So I believe this is her mother's funeral. You can see, it's like, there's not, you can't see what's in the portrait, but you can kind of tell from her body language and stuff that it's not a pleasant time. I like to see them one more time, her grandfather says, even if it's as ghosts. I want to see them. I want to go meet them. Tohru clenches her fist. But, she says, but then she realizes her grandfather's fallen asleep, and she smiles a rueful smile. She remembers her mother in a black dress crying, and her words, I want to go see him. Toru's expression drops, her eyes become blank and dark. Later, after she visits her grandfather, Tohru walks home. Don't say such things, she thinks. Feel better, I'll do whatever you want. We see memories of hers, her mother crying, baby Tohru, looking at her, and then the door closed. Then Kyo. Say anything but that, don't go, come back. Mom, don't go away like Mom, she thinks, and she falls to her knees on the sidewalk. What's wrong? A voice asks. It's Kyo, who suddenly appears in front of her. Was he in bad shape? He asks. Tohru doesn't reply, and we see tears in her eyes. Tohru, hey, are you alright? Kyo asks. Tohru manages to collect herself and says, I'm fine. He seemed alright. I was just remembering the past. I too would close the lid, she thinks. She looks up, blushing and relieved. You surprised me, Kyoko, I thought maybe you descended from the heavens. Huh? What are you talking about? He says. Are you stupid? Tohru smiles. Don't push yourself, he says, standing up and patting her on the head. It's natural to be anxious when a relative is bedridden. And there's an extra panel of him kind of like delicately touching her head and a closer view of her face. She blushes. Want to go home, he says, looking away, and she's like, but Kyoko, you came here for a reason, didn't you? He doesn't reply to that question, but the answer is clear, I think, to Tohru. And to us, that he was there for her. You planning on sitting there the rest of your life, he asks, and he grabs her under the arm and pulls her up and picks up her bag for her. You're skinny and tiny, he says, and she is, which is funny. What, Kyo says, as they take off. Are you going to say you want to grow like Uotani? What if she want to be 6'4" anyway? Does she want to be a model or something? And Toru's like, that would be so cool, it'd be so wonderful. And we transition away. Back at Shigure's house, Haru visits Shigure in his study. Rin was just here, wasn't she? He asks, and Shigure is like, what of it? And Haru's like, why do you always talk as if you're testing people? It makes people not like you, you know? Shigure chuckles and is like, I know. You're also lucky to live in the ignorance of youth, he says. You always struggle frantically to keep yourself from drowning. When if you just relax, you'd find that you'd float. Yes, Haru says, but the only way that you get to that point is to keep struggling with all your might until you can't struggle anymore. That sounds nice, Shigure says with a smile. In that case, please keep struggling. If there's something bothering you, you should just ask her directly. She is your ex-girlfriend, after all. Haru asks if Rin swore him to secrecy, and Shigure is like, you could say that. Would you tell me if I called you honey? Haru asks, and Shigure is like, sorry, but I would really hate that. Shigure says, you mustn't cut corners, Haru-kun. Please do your best. Keep struggling. That's your job as young people, isn't it? Tohru and Kyo return home, and Yuki greets them, and that's the end of chapter 70. Yay.
Yay.
It was touching. These chapters had a lot going on also.
Yeah.
I thought that last time was kind of a lot, but this time feels like even more.
Yeah. One's running around with all their emotions.
They're struggling.
Yes.
That's what they do. It's also funny running around with all their emotions, yes. This all seems very sudden, too, because, like, Tohru still has her bandage you can see on her face. It's just, like, the next day after the next chapter, right? Because
Yuki says to Kagura, like, did something happen with you and Kyo yesterday? So
Yeah. exactly. So
So yeah, it's all happening pretty quickly after the beach.
Yeah, basically. So
Beach.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Beach. Any opportunity we have to mention the beach.
There's always opportunity to mention the beach.
It's always a good beach time. It's still summer.
Yep, it's always summer.
Something big is happening. Would you like to kick off this discussion?
Sure.
So I'll turn to our notes. Everyone get ready
Yes.
for the discussion. I mean...
So, like, our last episode, it was kind of Tohru and Kyo focused, and this time it's kind of Yuki focused. With some side
Tohru
players.
focused.
We've also got, we got a little bit of Tohru, and, a lot of Haru and Rin stuff.
Yeah. Significant Haru and Rin thing.
Yeah. But it's like from Yuki's perspective, so.
Yeah.
These chapters. So.
That's true.
It's one of those ones where, like, we talk about, like, the framing narration on certain chapters and sections. And it doesn't quite frame it, but his narration's kind of the through line of the events here.
The first chapter and kind of like the first half of the second one. His memories.
And even that, it's like his narration is like kind of leads into the little bit of stuff with Tohru. So.
Yeah, which I think is a really great transition. It's one of the nicest.
Yeah,
ones.
It's a good transition. It kind of links several characters together there, in a kind of subtle way.
I got to that point and I was like, oh, that's nice. Really nice.
Yeah. The first note I had is where Yuki's talking about, like, he doesn't know what his top priority should be. And I think it's kind of a nice, like, continuation of his, like, self-awareness that he's gained, like, since the beach arc. Because it's like now he knows, like, all of the issues he wants to tackle and deal with, but he just doesn't know where to start because it's so much.
Yeah. There's a little... this like flash of all these different people, like it's like Kyo and Tohru and his mom, and even like Ayame, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting that Kyo is one of those things he feels like he has to address.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that. I wonder what it is.
Yeah, and he also seems to show some kind of awareness and almost concern of Kyo in this chapter too. It's like both in him like noticing how he like grumps off at the beginning, and then talking with the Kagura where he says like he seemed depressed too. So
yeah, and they also talk about it. Like I think Haru is the one who brings it up when they're at school, but Yuki also talks about it. I think at school, and the scene when he comes home, the scene when Kyo comes home and like kind of like grumps off, as you said, which is accurate. Yuki kind of looks kind of exasperated, and then he gets distracted by what Shigure says. Like I think it's funny how he's like, ugh, like why are you being so rude, like mean to Tohru? Like he has this awareness. I mean, it's obvious, but he has I think like a clear awareness of how Kyo feels about her. It's kind of like why are you? It
seems like kind of a continuation of that like why don't you
argument.
walk Tohru home sometimes? And
he's like, that's what you do. Yuki's like, you're an idiot. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of, I mean, all of this is like a big pile of things. I feel like I was just thinking also when I was reading this chapter and the last two that it used to be very like episodic. One thing would happen, everything would happen kind of like sequentially. And now there are these like little pieces that are kind of being woven together. And this is one of them. One ongoing thing that's happening is like Yuki is aware of, Kyo's like obvious and Toru's like obvious feelings for each other that are developing. And he's kind of like hint hint, do this thing and like be nice, and Kyo is like no, which is really funny.
Like he seems to be like he's grumpy about Kyo being grumpy because they're each other, but he's not really. He seems to be like trying to be like somewhat encouraging of it.
Yeah. Or just like I guess like now that Yuki's more self-aware, he's like, you obviously feel this way, like why are you actively like not, what, I don't know, why are you so like against it? I wonder if that's also part of his motivation for why he's so like concerned about, I mean he's concerned about Rin because it's obviously hurting Haru, but I think he doesn't necessarily believe that she actually like feels the way that she said that we saw in the memory and stuff like that. Yeah,
like I was talking about like his self-awareness. Like I think part of it is like, he's always felt like he has to rely on others, but I think he's like kind of becoming more aware of like these struggles all those others are going through and trying to like see if he can like pay it back a little bit in a way.
Yeah. Well, it's basically the focus of this too. Like that's what he's like,
Yeah.
what should my top priority be? I have all these other things I want to do.
Because he's like, there's all this shit I personally have to deal with, but he also wants to. He's also like more aware of everyone else around him and trying to like show some concern with that too.
Like he keeps trying to talk to Haru about his feelings, and Haru's like, "Oh, but you have a lot of stuff that you're focused on," and he gets really frustrated about that at one point in these chapters.
Yeah, and we've seen that from him before, like talking to Haru, where he's like, "Why are you always so concerned about others?"
But then this is like even beyond, like this reaction is stronger than before. I think.
Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting that in these chapters. I don't know why. I just like, oh, Yuki, you're pissed off now. So weird.
Yeah.
But then he, the other interesting thing is like in that conversation, he gets really upset. Like he cries at the end. And I guess maybe it's out of like frustration or something. Like he seems to feel bad that he feels like he can't help, the people that he cares about yet.
Yeah. I think at the crying at the end it almost seems like slightly cathartic. Like, yeah. Because it's like after like Haru breaks the tension by making him laugh, and then is like saying that like Yuki's a kind person, so there'll be someone out there who will understand him, and until then he just needs to keep doing his best. So like I think he's obviously still frustrated by like as it says in the next panel, the like can't stand up by myself yet, but I think it's a little bit of a cathartic cry too.
Yeah, it's also like what I mean Haru said again something that he needed to hear. It's like it's okay it's good that you're trying, but like don't worry about it so much. Don't worry about not being able to do something for other people, I guess.
Yeah. His relationship with Haru is really good.
It is really good. There's like he has that memory where it's like basically the people that he cares about, like Tohru and Haru, in that one part.
Yeah, and like we've always known like Haru's looking out for Yuki, but we get another reveal of something else he's done for Yuki, which is to get him out of that room.
Yes. I think that's kind of like a big underplayed reveal that Haru was the one who orchestrated this. It's not like Shigure was just like, yeah, whatever, come live with me. Like Haru asked him to do it.
And we've had Haru calling Shigure Sensei the entire series, so that's kind of a reveal on that too. So
I like how Haru just plays it off. He's like, Sensei's a sensei.
Yeah.
But it is kind of funny when you think about it. It's like, why would you... Haru's the only one who calls him that. It's not like other family members call him that. So yeah,
it shows that like he obviously took that arrangement very seriously since he's keeping up his end of the deal. Even though it's obviously a silly deal that on Shigure's end, but
you never know with Shigure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's trying his best to ensure that Yuki's in a good situation. And I think despite Yuki's despite Yuki feeling like he's not able to help anyone, I mean, he at least like he spent a lot of kind of like mental energy the last couple of chapters trying to like figure out what's going on with Rin and try to like do some behind the scenes working things out between her and Haru, I guess, like trying to talk to her about it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's obviously one of those things where like you can't see the good in yourself kind of thing, because Yuki obviously does. People do benefit from their relationship with Yuki. Like it's not just a one-sided relationship that he has with these people.
Yeah, of course.
But he obviously feels that he's all take and no give.
Yes, that's it's his tragic flaw.
Yeah. But I mean, from Tohru's end, obviously we've seen that she feels like Yuki's one of the people who supports her and helps her like a ton in her life, and we've seen from back in that first meeting between Haru and Yuki that was obviously a big thing for Haru. So yeah, it's obviously not as one-sided as Yuki thinks his friendships are.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean the reason that Haru feels indebted to him for the way that Yuki treated him as a child. So
yeah,
it's not like that comes from nowhere. Haru even says like, Yuki, you're kind, you're weak, but you're kind. Yeah. Someone will understand that about you someday. I guess maybe what he says is more, it's almost like, it's like he knows that Yuki needs to feel validated. Like he says those things to validate him, not just say them,
Yeah, he means them. He knows. Yeah. I also like how like Haru is like can always seems to be able to make Yuki laugh. Like, he's like the only one who can like consistently do that, which is cute.
And Yuki also laughs at all of Haru's like weird jokes. Like
Yeah.
I can't remember. So like there's other people who don't react the same way. Like we've seen other characters that don't react the same way to his jokes, and Haru or Yuki always like gets a chuckle out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Haru appreciates that.
Yeah, like we see other people just be like, "Why are you so weird?" But Yuki obviously gets that he's
trying to be helpful.
Of a joke there, so yeah.
He's making a joke to add levity.
Yeah.
He's
lightening the mood,
relieve the tension.
Yes. But it's cute. We see a couple scenes like that where they're having a serious conversation. He makes some silly comment, and Yuki laughs, and Haru smiles. So it's cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He does. He's all worried about all his different problems, and the first thing that he does is he tries to go talk to his mother or to his parents about the parent-teacher conference.
Yeah.
Which I think is at the main house, because then after the conversation he asks where Akito is. So I'm thinking it seems like his mother lives in the main house as well.
Yeah, because he asks about Akito, and then he passes by his room that he used to be locked in. So
it seemed like the person who came and checked on him in the room in his memory was his mother. Like her face was kind of blocked out, but it kind of looks like the style that she dresses in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, we've seen some of the maids before, right?
Yeah, we see them like we've seen them like talking to Kureno about Akito and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard to tell if it was the same people because their faces are...
Yeah, I mean, they're kind
not
of...
drawn.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes we get like generic maids and a couple times we get a specific one or two, but the maids in general have made their appearance.
They have made an appearance, yeah. So it seems like there's... I don't know. I struggled if they should be called maids or not, but I think they're maids. They take care of things in the main house. We've seen some of them before, like you said.
Yeah.
Talking to Kureno and stuff. So here Yuki talks to them and they're like surprised to see him, and also they report back that his mother's not there and that Akito's not there. But I just thought it was interesting that they were drawn in such a uncanny kind of way without faces.
Well, they're always kind of like subtly like scolding and condescending every time we've seen them.
Definitely, yeah, that's true.
It's like even here where they're like, it's not as severe, but they're like, oh, if you'd let us know you were coming, she wouldn't have gone out. And
they're like, oh, and
like,
you're not
you won't be waiting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think they're purposely drawn to be kind of scary. To describe it simply, they're not. They're definitely not welcoming, I guess.
Yeah. And one can imagine they were probably like somewhat intimidating figures for Yuki when he was young and locked up in the main house.
Probably, and he's back in the same place that he was at before. So.
Yeah, and you can see it's not easy for him, like the grim, determined expression he has to have before he can walk in. Yeah. And the like frustration at like, oh, I worked myself up to get here and she's not even home. And
yeah. And this kind of like there's a panel of him reacting to seeing the room. I don't think I described it when I was talking about it before, but he also has this kind of, I don't know, it's not really like a pained expression, but he has not a good expression when he looks at it. So
it's almost like a lost in memory kind of thing. Like it's like he can't muster up the energy to react to it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this place.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Like,
yeah, he's kind of experiencing it, the memories. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that set of panels where he sees the room because it's like sees it like a normal room with normal lighting, and then like in his memory it's all dark and dim, and he's over in the shadowed corner of it. So
yeah, it's kind of interesting. There was it's interesting that you pointed out because it's like a normal room, and then he imagines it the way that he feels about it, I guess, which is like that it was all dark and like, you know, because it was kept in there, which totally makes sense. But it's kind of interesting to see the contrast, like as if he's realizing that, you know, it's just a place or whatever, is kind of addressing that feeling too. And then when he's leaving, he runs into Kagura, which is another interesting small conversation.
Yeah, because like Kagura's right off her big emotional situation with Kyo from the previous chapters.
Yeah, and I guess this is like the middle of the day because he asked her if she's skipping school, or he asked her if she's already home, and she said she's skipping.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think it's like early afternoon where it's like she could be home from school, but it's surprisingly early, and so she's just like, no, I'm skipping.
Yeah, and then he talks to her. He uses the opportunity to ask her about Rin because they live together, as we saw before, and also to kind of ask about Kyo and her.
Yeah, then he like notices she's a little off and remembers Kyo being off, so
He's like, I put two
more
and
off
two
than
together.
usual. Yeah.
Yeah. More grumpy than usual.
Yeah, but like his reaction at the end where he says like he feels like jealous of her for like knowing, kind of being very aware of her own feelings and where she stands on them and everything, while he's so confused about everything.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting choice, I think, to bring Kagura back for this scene, because she doesn't get a lot of time in the story. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that they kind of talk.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they've seen each other since...
Right.
Have they seen each other since the True Form?
Probably not.
Oh, maybe.
Really. Like maybe in passing, but I don't think we've gotten any like real focus on it. Yeah, and they had that little conversation like after the True Form too, which was another interesting little.
Yeah, where she's leaving.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. That's why that's why I asked. So it's kind of like, if this is the next time, it's kind of an interesting, also an interesting little, I don't know, not really an arc, but it's an interesting little set of things that happen between them. Like if that's the last time they saw each other, then the next time is this, and it's like all about her kind of feelings about Kyo and her like behavior around having to do with him and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're actually both kind of similar in like from Yuki's perspective, because it seems like Kagura's kind of like pretty solid on her like emotions about everything. Well, he's kind of confused about it because we know he had a troubled reaction to the whole True Form arc too.
That's true.
Yeah, and now we have him here where he's like, even though Kagura is upset because she's been rejected or whatever, she's she knows where she stands and what her feelings are, and so he's kind of jealous of that too, even though being rejected isn't the best feeling in the world, but she knows where she stands, and Yuki's just confused about everything right now. So.
Yeah, for sure. He says like to be so like confident about your feelings about something or someone. I can't remember exactly. It's like he says
like to feel that way about someone with such conviction, and then he says it makes me jealous because it seems like she knows exactly where she stands.
It's okay, Yuki. You have to keep struggling. I mean,
you young people.
Yeah. He like said Jigure, who's like younger than us.
Yeah.
Yuki also he runs into Rin. Which is what he wanted.
Yeah.
But I don't think it went the way that he was expecting.
I mean, it kind of worked out. He got the answers.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, I guess the behavior was obvious. Yeah. Well, he was like, "What are you doing?" Which wasn't revealed, I guess.
Yeah. No. Yeah, like we know she was apparently talking to Shigure, but
yeah. Sorry, I just rolled my eyes, but you didn't see it.
But we didn't see this conversation like we did the last one between them.
Yes. So then Rin reveals the things that we talked about before about what Haru did for him, and she's basically like, "You're just like such an idiot, like go back to school or whatever idiots do or whatever, and stay out of my business." Like so harsh.
It's kind of interesting because when he was talking to Haru about Rin earlier in the chapter, this is like she says hurtful things without hesitation, but like basically like won't make shit up just to protect herself. And from the two times we've seen her like be really really mean for no reason, she has been saying true things.
Yeah,
like when she talked to like Kagura about her feelings for Kyo and everything. Like it was all true what she said. She was just being an unnecessary bitch about it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and then everything she says to Yuki is true too. It's just really really mean.
Yeah, it's mean. It's also it cuts right into the heart of all the things that it's like their most. Rin has the gift of perception. She knows exactly what the things are that bothers them. Like
and she uses it for evil, not
yes, because she wants people to stay away from her for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Stop bothering me. Like, just go back to doing whatever like idiots like you do. People who have no idea what's going on around them do or whatever." Yeah, so she's completely right, and it completely cuts directly to what's bothering Yuki, which is great.
Yeah.
So mean. It's so mean. It's great. And he looks, and we get his like reaction from all of that, which is just so disheartened, which is interesting too. And then Haru comes and the interesting thing is that Haru kind of turns that back on Rin. So he uses his superpower, which is empathy, rather than just perceiving what's wrong with people, and is like, "Oh, so it doesn't matter if I die then if you meant what you said to me." And then you see her kind of like shocked expression after. Yeah. You're like, "Ha, he definitely got you. He knows exactly what's going on." To a certain extent, at least.
Yeah. So we see like two shocked Rin expressions in these chapters, and her eyes are fucking enormous.
Every close-up of her face, her eyes are gigantic.
Where's you do that like page flip, you're like, when Haru first shows up, she's got like the shocked expression too.
Right. Oh yeah, right before. Yes. They're the same people, the same eyes.
Yeah. Especially compared to Haru, who's always got like the narrow eye look.
Yeah, his smoldering look, as I described it, is also really interesting. It was like, what? You gonna say I'm wrong? It was really great. It's funny that, like, so one thing that I made a note about is I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the dead-eyed expression, because I was thinking about it, because we got this. I made a list just like last time. I can't remember what I made a list about, but I made another list. This is the look where people are kind of like overcome with negative emotion. We saw it first with like Kisa's mom when she was trying to talk to her. We saw it in Uo's backstory when she was kind of in the depth of her gang days. We saw it with Hana after the boy fainted, and she was like, when she was a tiny child, asking her parents like why they didn't call the cops on her, which was depressing. And then also Momiji had the same kind of expression after Akido attacked him at the beach when he's trying to apologize. Kagura had the same expression during her confession last time, where she said she felt like the worst person on earth. And then Tohru has this kind of expression when she starts to have this anxiety about her grandfather. It would happen in the first part of the first chapter, when after she's on the phone, and then they kind of snap her out of it. Yeah. And then Yuki also has this expression when he's talking to Rin. So we have this like one specific type of. I was trying to figure out like what is the thing that connects all of these moments together. Like what is the actual expression? Because I've just substituted the word like dead-eyed for it multiple times. Yeah. And so I was thinking, I don't know. I think it just is kind of like an overwhelming feeling of anxiety or like depression or these like really strong negative emotions.
Yeah. I was calling it like the look of despair.
Yeah. So much so that your face is like slack. But
yeah, it's like so like awful you just kind of like shut down rather than react. So I think TV Tropes calls it the blue screen of death expression. Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. It's just like so overwhelmed that you just don't do anything. But then there's other reactions of surprise and like being overcome by other emotions, like this one, the Rin look. Or I mean, other people have it as well. Yuki also looks really surprised later, I think.
Yeah.
Well, he's super taken aback when Rin says that Haru was the one who asked Shigure to take Yuki in. It's not quite the same, but it's still like very super like wide-eyed. Kyo's expression is always kind of like this when he's super surprised and angry, like where his eyes are wider and then it's like pupils are really narrow. Yeah. Anyway, this is the visual language repertoire of Natsuki Takaya. It's just I don't know, I just thought it was interesting this time. There's a ton of different, in these chapters, everybody goes through all these different emotions, and they're all trying to like hide certain things. Like Rin's emotions are, to me, they're really interesting and funny when you see all these like when she's in the hospital, she's like, I don't need you anymore. Her face is also really sort of like emotionless. Yeah. Like she's choosing things to say that aren't really how she feels. And then when Haru is able to kind of catch her off guard, then you see this like really strong reaction, which is interesting to me. Yeah.
I think my favorite reaction in these chapters is when Haru and Rin are kissing and Yuki's just like,
yes. Oh yeah, I didn't even get to them kissing yet. Which is the most. Can we talk about the kiss? Because it was intense. But yeah, poor Yuki is there like third wheeling while they have this conversation after Haru arrives.
But somehow like the entire page is dedicated to the kiss except for that one panel.
Yeah, so it is really funny. It's like, but yeah, and it's like a really intense kiss. I don't think we've seen any emotion like this so far in this series. I remember a couple episodes ago I was like, so few people touch so often that like when someone touches someone, it's like you notice it. I feel like I notice it so strongly. Yeah, it's a really emotional and passionate moment in the story that we haven't seen so far, and we don't know that much about Haru and Rin. Like in this chapter we got a bit of background about them. Like there were some little flashes of like Haru's memories about her from before. Like when they were together and when she was like, I don't know, she's like passed out on the sidewalk in one scene, and also her, clearly injured, which we know is a thing that happened because that at some point at least, because Shigure and Hattori were talking about it a couple chapters ago, and by a couple I mean probably like 20. I forget.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we knew she was in the hospital. Yeah, because they were talking about it, and we saw like Hero visit her the one time.
Yes, that's right. I forgot that was the thing that happened too.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as like her and Haru, all we've really known so far is that they were secretly dating, and then she dumped him for some reason.
Yes.
Like,
really coldly, as we saw in this flashback.
yeah,
But yeah, clearly they have an intense relationship, as is demonstrated by this scene.
yeah, because it's not a chaste kiss.
No, it's not. Not at all. The other thing I think is really nice about the scene is he asks her, like, did I not understand what was going on with you?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really ever get like an answer to that.
Yeah,
But it's kind of like he's trying to reach out to her and be like, did I just like misunderstand what was going on?
yeah, I like how it's kind of like, because in like the earlier parts when he's talking to Yuki, he says like he's starting to think that like she really did mean it when she dumped him. But then like when they have this conversation and he gets the reaction out of her with the "it doesn't matter if I die" line, he obviously realizes that something else is going on there, and so
Yeah.
he starts trying to like figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
And then she just pushes him away.
Yeah.
There's something about the last thing that he says. He's like, are you unable to stand like on that day? And then she slaps him and leaves. So I don't know if it's just like there's something about that, whatever it was that he brought up, that bothers her.
Because we see her go like wide-eyed again right before.
So yeah, another interesting and mysterious interaction with Rin.
Yeah. That's like the exchange right after Rin leaves, and he's, Haru's like, "Oh, I won't be able to catch her." And Yuki asks like why she, like how he's always so carefree, and he's like, "No, I'm starting to like really get serious," basically.
Yeah.
Because I think like now he knows that like it wasn't just that she legitimately just wanted to dump him and not be dating anymore. Something else is going on, and so
Yes. So the question
now he's
is
like
what?
more determined to figure that out.
Yeah, he clenches
Figure
his
out
fist.
and yeah, and it seems like he wants to figure that out because something's obviously wrong with Rin, not because like he's like, oh, we can get back together. Like he's obviously more worried about like he obviously is missing something about what's happening with Rin here.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be motivated by anything other than his, genuine like feelings of caring about her. It's not about him. He's not like, I want to get back together.
Yeah, because like all the words he says like did I not understand something? Did I miss you? Like asking for help and needing me and stuff. So
yeah, exactly. It's just this also the reaction that he has, or like the action that he does after she runs away. He has like he holds his hand out and he's like looking at it. It's this lingering moment where he's like she's gone so fast, I guess, that he's just like it's like this fleeting like I was so close to reaching her or something.
yeah,
This sort of like regretful, confused, like because she was just there. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
And then he kind of clenches his fist, like you said. He seems very determined. He has this like look of like I'm gonna figure it out after, which is really interesting. And then he goes back to like trying to take care of Yuki, which is
yeah.
The one other thing I was gonna say about Rin is that there's I don't think we've ever seen, there's this at the last scene of her, you can see this like very, very prominent scar on her shoulder blade, which I don't think we've seen before. So not sure exactly what that's about yet. It hasn't been revealed if there's anything for that, but
yeah, and you could see it a little bit in the earlier panels, but it's given a lot of attention there.
But that's in that transition scene that we were talking about. That's really nice, where Yuki kind of narrates, and you see it kind of transitions between Yuki and Rin and Tohru.
Yeah, I like it because it kind of like that narration kind of links all these three characters. The whole idea of like not being able to stand up on their own just yet, or go any further without by themselves. Go any further by themselves.
Yes, and it's kind of like it also makes that clear. That's kind of like the theme of what's going on in these with all these different exchanges in this in these two chapters at least.
Yeah, it like obviously links all three characters with that feeling of not quite helplessness, but something along those lines.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a single adjective for that. I was just gonna say like needing support.
Yeah.
Feeling unsupported. I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of thematically links them together. And then it transitions into all the stuff with Tohru.
Yeah.
I remembered this scene from before, like from reading this a long time ago, where and like knew that Kyo was going to come and find her and stuff like that. But I kind of forgot. I didn't realize that he followed her. So the whole time
I'm not actually sure if he did. It's kind of vague. Like when I first read it, I thought he was just thinking of her leaving and decided to go.
It feels like to me like he followed her because what happens is like the first part he's sitting in the classroom and he like watches her leave. Maybe he did decide to go and follow her after or something. But that,
yeah, it's just because there's that kind of like shiny aspect to that panel of like him think of Tohru leave Tohru's back in that scene where he decides to turn around. That makes it seem like a thought or a memory.
But it's like, how would he be anywhere near there unless?
Yeah, well, there's always enough time for her to be visiting with her grandpa because it seems like he like shows up as she's leaving.
Maybe he thinks about. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's actually a memory of her leaving instead of actually following her. Like he was walking away and then he turned. Like you see his head. There's a line that indicates that it's like turning.
Yeah, like he obviously like stops and decides to like go to her grandpa's house, but yeah, I think my inclination is to think he thought of it afterward and decided to go back, but it's not super clear.
It's not clear
if he directly followed her and
he was certainly thinking about her.
Yeah,
as is indicated by the panels.
Yeah. It's like, hey, he kind of took Yuki's advice. He went and picked her up and walked her home.
Yes, he did. He literally picked her up in this case, actually.
Yes.
The scene is great. And also, I think the reason I kind of thought that he followed her purposely was because she's like, well, you came here for something, and he just kind of doesn't. She almost like realizes why he's there in that moment, or she realizes why he's there in that moment. Mm-hmm. Like he's purposely there for her, but that doesn't mean he followed her. It just means that he's there at that time.
Yeah. I didn't remember her grandpa having the adorable kitty cat, though.
I didn't remember that either. I don't know why. And it's so like prominently illustrated. Like cat.
You can see it in the first panel too at the beginning, like when she's on the phone with her or whatever. There's a little tiny kitty cat sitting on the futon with her grandpa.
No. Yes, the cat is there. The cat nuzzles his face, and then the cat leaves when he starts talking about all of the.
Yeah.
You know, it's a metaphor.
I think the cat's going, no, shit's getting serious. I better give them some time.
Cats always know when you need privacy. No, that's not true at all. Yeah.
They know, but they won't respect it.
Like if it was a real cat, it would have just like sat on her grandfather's face during the rest of the conversation. But it's great, of course, because then it ties into the idea of it also. There's more and more correlation drawn between Tohru's mother and Kyo in these chapters, and so it also like it's just a little element that ties it together too. So we have the cat, which of course is similar to Kyo, but yes, the scene with Tohru. Okay, so so then we go transition into the scene with Tohru at her grandfather's house. So they have this discussion, and it's like a normal discussion. Then he starts to talk about how he had a dream about her parents and how he wants to see them again, and kind of trails off and falls asleep. Mm-hmm. And Tohru, at first she's kind of taken aback, and then she kind of settles down. But then while she's there, she starts to have all these memories and starts to have that kind of like overwhelmed expression.
Yeah.
Memories of her mother specifically, and then also thinking of Kyo. There's also specific memories of her as a child. It seems like it's all the same time. Like it's all this one time where it looks like her mom's wearing the same stuff and whatever. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's also her inner monologue, of course, is drawn in the visual language that's kind of established for super like negative thoughts and like bad memories that we've seen in the past as well.
Yeah, we've got the
black boxes,
the like heavy texturing on the flashback panels and the narration in the black boxes with white lettering.
Right. I think it's interesting that so then the scene kind of continues because Tohru leaves, and then she also kind of like falls on the sidewalk while she's kind of overcome with all these different emotions, and then she also says, "I also closed the lid." So it's a reference back to
the lid is back.
Yeah, the lid's back. I was like, I knew that was a thing, but I couldn't. I was surprised that it was back in this chapter. I don't know.
Yeah.
So she started using kind of like it's the same metaphor that Yuki used, that Yuki told her about his feelings. I had closed. I need to open the lid. He had said at the beach arc and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now the same metaphor is back. The lid is back.
Yeah. Well, we've seen Tohru has a fear of people like getting sick and stuff, and leaving her before because of her, losing both her parents.
Right.
Her dad to sickness, and her mom in an accident. But we've seen her like in a hospital room too, so it seems like her mom might not have died right away. So she's seen them both, like has an experience of both of them being like bedridden and then dying.
Yes. So we just are seeing this anxiety play out again.
Yeah.
But and also stronger. Like I don't think we've seen a couple of kind of hints at this.
Yeah, it's a really strong reaction to the specific phrasing that her grandpa says, I think.
It's because she has this memory of her mom and the words are almost exactly the same. Like her mom said the same thing. I want to go meet him.
Yeah. So we don't know, like, but yeah, obviously she has some kind of strong negative connection with those particular words. So
yeah, it
sends
seems
her
like
into kind of a spiral there.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's a strong enough. It's a strong enough emotional reaction that she has to like stop and drop to her knees in the middle of the road. So
Yeah, it's very intense. And Kyo kind of snaps her out of it. Kyo's also able to he kind of like also breaks the tension just like Haru did. He like teases her a little bit and
yeah,
but she seems really relieved to see him also.
yeah,
Like her reaction to him being there is also great. Like she's kind of like freaking out on the ground and then she looks up and she's already like smiling, blushing. He delicately touches her head, which is very charming.
yeah,
It's very sweet. And there's like a whole panel that's devoted to her reaction to him touching her head.
yeah.
To me, it kind of indicates that her feelings are getting stronger and stronger for him. We see that he's more and more associated with like people in her family, like her mother to her, right? So.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely like she's having all this anxiety about like people saying they want to go away and leaving her behind, and then like Kyo arrives, so kind of a nice little like opposite of that.
Yeah, he's there because he wants to find her, which is nice. And then they go home. And then at home, there's Haru's conversation, which is at the end, which I guess we haven't talked about yet. But at the end of the chapter, Haru's conversation with Shigure, which is where the great, like, sometimes I still think about that. It's like, Shigure is like, you have to keep struggle, or like, young people need to struggle, or whatever.
Yeah. I do like the whole, like, you struggle frantically to keep yourself from drowning when if you just relax, you'd find out that you float. But then it's just like the only way to get to that point is to struggle until you can't struggle anymore.
Yeah. It's a good, I feel like another, like, accurate little wisdom drop metaphor from Takaya.
Aphorism.
Aphorism, yeah. Struggle till you can't anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the great Benjamin Franklin said. I mean.
Yes.
Actually, I don't know if he was struggling at all.
It's a little Ben Franklin-y, but I think he preferred not to struggle, but I think he probably did a lot leading up to that point.
I was gonna say I don't think he had to struggle that much, but yes. I think it's a good aphorism. It's like you have to struggle until you can't, but then once you can't anymore, you'll find out that you'll float. Yeah. And Shigure tells Haru to please keep struggling, which is cute and funny and Shigure-like thing to say.
Yeah. Also, like, Haru is like, why do you always talk as if you're testing people? It makes people not like you. He's just like, I know.
Yeah, I know. It's good. I feel like Haru commented on that before in a different way, but the same behavior. It's like, you always say things that piss people off.
Like, yeah. I love Haru trying to get him to tell him what Rin said by saying, like, what if I called you honey?
Honey, yeah, so good. It's pretty good.
And you guys like, no, that would be terrible.
Like the next level up from Sensei is honey.
Yeah, obviously.
Then that gets to the end and there's a little cute scene of Yuki and Tohru and Kyo together, which is nice.
Yep.
It's kind of funny because we don't see them together that much these days. I guess at the end of the last two chapters that we read, it was when they were all eating together. They were interesting chapters. There was a lot of things that happened. Lots of people cried. So much crying that I wasn't expecting. I guess this sort of like the overarching idea of all these chapters is this like recognizing that you need the support of other people and also trying to give that, I guess. Mostly focused on like Yuki and Tohru and Haru's kind of interaction.
Yeah. And Rin.
And Rin and Kyo, actually, because Kyo goes and then Kagura's just Kagura's there for a little brief interaction, follow up, check in.
Getting her emotional shit together compared with everyone else. So
basically. I like Kagura's little line that's like emotions. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just how I feel. Emotions aren't rational anyway, or whatever. Especially like in this conversation that she has with Yuki, because Yuki is always trying so hard to fight again. It's like trying to be, like methodical. Like, it's funny. He's like, I don't know what my top priority should be. I have all these problems. It's just like, pick one, like, or kind of like you.
What's the laundry pile metaphor?
Yes. Where's Shigure when Yuki needs him? Notice Shigure wasn't in his like little memories or thoughts of people who support him. But yeah, like Kagura is presented as kind of an enlightened person in these chapters, I guess, and everybody else is sort of struggling with all these different emotions, like Tohru's feelings of potential this anxiety around being abandoned, and then Yuki dealing with all of his various issues that he feels like he needs to deal with, and then Haru's kind of confusion about his relationship with Rin and Rin's desire to to protect him from something with her harsh words. So yeah, it's an interesting theme to explore in these two chapters, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And well explored in a realistic way, as Takaya seems to be so capable of doing. Yeah. Any other non-spoiler thoughts? Are you ready to talk about spoilers?
I'm so ready for spoilers.
Ready to spoil.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, okay, thank you all for listening then. You can always send us comments and stuff on Tumblr, always. You can also rate this podcast and review it, and that helps people kind of understand how great it is on podcasting apps, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah. How will anyone make decisions without a star rating?
No stars. Why should I listen to this? Anyway.
I can't know how I feel unless I see what other people feel about it.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, welcome back. We're going to talk about spoilers now.
Here to spoil.
Spoil and be spoiled.
Sit in the back of your fridge and slowly get soft and gross.
Gross and maybe a little moldy.
Yeah.
Not like that's ever happened to us, no. Anyway, let's talk about spoilers. Here are the spoilers. Here's a spoiler that I have to say.
Here they are.
Here they are. I think it's interesting that Machi shows up, and kind of random.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But of course, she's the person who understands him that Yuki. I mean, that Haru talks about.
Conversation. About...
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of later though. She's just there at school and it's like, hey, and then is not in the rest of the two chapters. So she just has like a brief little appearance. But
yeah, well, I just mean she shows up in that conversation he has with Haru. So
yes,
obviously,
yes.
I mean, not obviously, but looking back,
obviously
the connection there.
Yeah, well, it is weird. Like, I feel like maybe if I was paying attention to this, I would be like, that's weird that she's there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's no reason for her to be there other than they're at the same school. So, you know. But yeah, obviously that, you know, she becomes a person who kind of understands what he's really about later, and someone who he can help. Right? It's what
I think in
wants.
the chapter she serves the purpose of bringing up the student council, which Haru says more than once is a good thing for Yuki. So.
Hey, Yuki, you know the student council that you joined? It's good for you. You know, the student council. That's good for you, right?
Yeah. I forgot to mention that, but I do like the line where he says, like, I don't know how it's going to turn out, and Haru says that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But,
yeah. And then Yuki gets pissed off later about it, which is funny. It's a little strange to me. And well, not strange to me. It's part of his deal, but...
He's having a lot of emotions right now.
Yeah. Everybody is. I mean, Rin yelled at him. Yeah. Like, it's understandable.
I think Yuki's grumpier about it because he's aware that he's having a lot of emotions while everyone else is just kind of having them. But he's like, God, I'm having a lot of emotions right now.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's Yuki's always tries to be so rational about everything. And it's like, you just can't be. Like, you can't. Mm-hmm. You have to, sometimes you just have to feel your feelings. But also he said he wanted to become a person who could feel his feelings. So obviously he's still trying to, like intellectualize them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's precious. It makes you want to pinch his cheeks.
It does. I thought it was, and it's kind of sweet and interesting that he cries in that scene too. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Yuki, oh. I don't have more to say about that. It's just, he's clearly trying so hard and is frustrated. It feels like he has so many things that he needs to.
Yeah, he's feeling overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the theme, I guess, of the chapter.
You guys start
or one
with
of them, at least.
The laundry right in front of you.
Yeah. Someone tell Yuki. I mean... Wasn't he there, or was it just Tohru and Kyo? I think it was just Tohru and Kyo.
Yeah.
Because they're having that discussion, and Tohru cries, and then Kyo is like, oh, I wish you'd stop crying, and then Shigure interrupts their moment. And then Tohru goes and gets Yuki later to have noodles, so... That's my summary.
It's a good one.
So yeah, he wasn't there. He didn't hear the laundry metaphor.
Someone needs to tell him.
Yeah. Rin will tell him someday, but in a much meaner way.
Yeah. She's like, fucking pick one. That's Rin's version of the laundry metaphor.
You got problems? Deal with them.
Just pick one and punch it in the face.
Like me.
Yes. That's what I do with my problems.
I feel like Rin suppresses her problems until they become much bigger problems.
That's how she thinks she deals with her problems.
Yeah, really. She's like, I know how to deal with this. Like offense is the best defense. Emotional offense is the best emotional defense.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rin, of course, I think most of the spoilery things in this were about Rin, because like we saw her scar, we saw her in the hospital, we saw all these things from her past and Haru's past, which are going to come up later in later chapters. I kind of forgot that they hadn't shown her scar yet.
Yeah, and I didn't remember the flashback to her like passing out as a child from when she and Haru met.
Mm-hmm.
That was shown.
I can't remember if that's how they met, but definitely that was a big part of
that's how they like
close.
Officially met. I think they might have like seen each other at New Year's, but like when she was being like severely neglected by her parents and passed out in the street, and Haru found her, went to get help.
Yeah, and I think she also, on top of being severely neglected by her parents, she also just had health problems, but I guess maybe it was from that.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's implied later on that she's got health problems because she was like malnourished and abused and neglected as a young child. So. Yeah, which is awful.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good when we get to talk about that. So nice. Can't wait.
Yeah. Rin's particular abuse from her parents almost hits harder just because it's so normal.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing that happens all the time in real life without, zodiac curses and stuff.
Yeah. It hits hard because she felt like her perception of it, like you watch her perception of her relationship with her parents just kind of like unravel. She thinks everything is fine, and then suddenly they're just like, it's not fine, and it has never been fine. We've just been like kind of covering it up.
Yeah, and the fact that it goes like so unnoticed for so long, like she's in that awful situation with nobody noticing until she's so sick she winds up in the hospital. Like, which again happens all the time.
Yeah. Well, the Soma family is good at covering up abuse. We've seen that.
Yeah.
So even if someone noticed, nothing would have been done about it. Yeah. Well, anyway, something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay.
Yay.
I do love Rin though. I feel like Rin and Haru's relationship is really touching. It's interesting how she tries to avoid him so much, and then as soon as he finds a way to kind of like get her to reveal what her real feelings are, and then they have that really romantic moment, which is nice. And then I think that'll kind of happen again. Like obviously they're gonna get back together and stuff, but there's other really nice scenes between them. They have a good relationship. Yeah. Despite all their issues.
Yeah, it's interesting. Rin's the introduction of Rin and the relationship she has with Haru, like the way it's introduced, it's so like off-putting at first, but becomes like, once you learn the whole story and learn, the kind of person Rin really is, becomes really touching.
Yeah, I guess like the perspective that I have is having read all the way through it before, so then in these times where it's like she's being all mean, it's like I never really see it as mean, because it's either just like the truth, like we talked about before. Whatever she says is kind of like, that's objectively what you did, person, whoever she's talking to.
Because this starts to be like the turning point where you realize like there's more behind it than just her being mean because she's mean. But like the first couple times you see her, she's just like so mean to everybody.
So mean and so mysterious, especially like to Yuki. Like it's so cuts so deep
for,
when
like,
it's
no
Yuki.
Apparent reason. Like there's no real like. There's no real like trigger for her like snapping at the people. But
Yuki is like, I know. Yuki's like, I had this memory of you where you did this really nice thing. You were just trying to protect her, and she's like, I knew you'd want to talk about something dumb. Like so rude.
Yeah.
But she has this opinion of Yuki that, well, she doesn't want him to get involved with whatever, and I think probably because his relationship
close with Haru,
that too, and also his relationship with Akito, maybe like. If he starts to get involved with this, I mean, I think Rin just is going out on her own because she doesn't want anybody else to get involved.
Yeah, so, she doesn't want anybody to get involved because she thinks they'll get hurt. But...
Yeah, which is accurate. and it's definitely based on her experience. So
yeah, I mean, she has no reason to think otherwise.
yes, so she's purposefully, the way that she tries to deal with this instead is to just be super mean. So anyway, yeah. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious to everyone who's listening to this because they would have read it before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think like on first read, this is the first time it's really starting to become apparent that like this is why she's the way she is.
Yes.
Even if you don't know all of it yet.
Yes.
Yeah, because Yuki even like says it. It's like whatever you're doing now, you're trying to protect Haru from something. It's like, I don't know what, I don't know why, but
yes. He's like, I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know something's starting right now. You like my Little Mermaid jokes?
Reference of the day.
Yes. Been watching a lot of Disney Plus recently. Listen. But yeah, you're right. It is sort of like off-putting. It's very, and like the way that she sneaks around. It's like, why is she going to Shigure? Haru asks Shigure why she was there, and he's like, why don't you just ask her? And is all cagey about it as well. And we know that she was there before, so it is all presented in this sort of like nefarious, mean, like Rin is really mean kind of way. But
then it's revealed like you know, later on it's like they have one of the most, or had and will have again one of the most, not currently.
Yes.
Like genuinely like loving and affectionate like relationships between the, you know, couples we see.
Yes. There's so few relationships in this, you know, that we've seen so far. Like there's like, and they haven't gone well, right? Like there was Kisa and Hiro, Hattori and Kana, right? Seems like Shigure and Maiko's relationship didn't go far enough for it to be, to end badly like all the others. And obviously there are some good relationships.
It's like it didn't go well because it didn't go.
Yeah, but the Shigure didn't really want a girlfriend. At least not Maiko. Although I wouldn't describe his relationship with Kido as girlfriend and boyfriend. I don't know what it is, but I can't find it in my heart to use that word to describe it. Yes. Anyway, but we'll get to see that too. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really like Rin. I think she's a good. The thing about Rin is like she's a character. She's like I don't know if she's really like tsundere, but she definitely has this like really hard exterior that. It's beyond. I mean, it's really beyond. She's so mean. But then she has this like kind of the motivations that she has are all to help other people, right?
Yeah, she's actually really. I don't want to use the word soft because that's overused on the internet right now, but she's like actually really like, you know, I don't know, like tender and caring person on the inside.
Yeah.
It's like we even have like, speaking of other spoilers, because like we learned like. And later on when she has the friendship with Tohru that like from the first instant like she met Tohru, she was like, oh no.
She's like, I'm so fragile and breakable. If I get too close to her, I'll just burst into tears. Yeah, like I said, Rin's gift is perception. She just, like you said, she uses it for evil and not good. But that also, I mean, so she knew that her relationship with Tohru would be really emotional. So she avoided her. But yeah, Rin is very kind-hearted and has these tender relationships with people, like you said. Yeah. Which we don't get to see till later, but we will. Fear not.
Yeah. It's like in the meantime, she's just hilariously mean to people.
So mean. I mean, I love drama, so it's fine. Yeah. I love how she, like, I mean, it's mean. But I love how she yells at Yuki, and she's like, I love the line where she's like, go back to school or whatever idiots do. I was just like, that's so mean. It's so good.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like she takes like whatever mean comment she was going to make and then just like turns it up to 11.
Yeah. Wonderful.
It's like it would have been mean anyway, but she just made it way meaner than it had to be.
Yes. I'm trying to remember if there's other spoilers. I mean, like, well, I mean, it's all Rin sneaking around trying to break the curse, but.
Yeah, not really more Rin spoilers, but we got the Kyoko Katsuya stuff.
Right.
With Toru's flashback there.
Yeah, and yes, of course, the flashback where her mother leaves her when she was young. Yeah. Which is like, you know, the root of Toru's kind of abandonment issues.
Yeah, there's like a lot that's established or referenced in that scene though.
I guess it's like it's established, but we know about it because we've seen the rest, but
yeah. I mean, like a lot of, I don't mean like this scene here. I mean, there's a lot of Tohru's personality and issues that's established in that scene in her past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, her whole like way of speaking and stuff was all established by that. All of her personality is focused around keeping people close to her that matter to her. So
yeah, her like guilt over like blaming her dad for that, even though he's dead, and
yeah, exactly.
Anxieties about people leaving her and all of that stuff.
So we'll get to see that later too. So great. Another downer chapter.
Yeah.
I was like, where's the romance comedy that I was promised when I was
yeah.
reading this week?
Still says it on the back here.
It does. Well, there was comedy and there is romance, so I guess it's still kind of true, but mostly a drama, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And it'll continue to be. I mean, and then, I don't know. It's just like we see Kyo and Toru's relationship developing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty established at this point, so.
I think we might see some hints of, like, Kyo's reluctance. That's gonna...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Come up toward the end there.
Yeah, and then Yuki and... I mean, leading up to Yuki and Kyo's, like, big fight. It is interesting that Yuki's, in his, like, to-do list of problems that he remembers, and that he thinks about, is that Kyo's one of them, like we talked about. It is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It feels sort of out of place, and I guess you could interpret it as, potentially, as, like, they're, like, negative feelings toward each other, but really it's about his, like, positive feelings toward Kyo, the ones where he's like, I thought you were nice and I wanted to, like, be friends with you and stuff. That doesn't get addressed until the end.
Yeah, like he's just starting to acknowledge that again, to be like, that's something that I need to deal with in my soup of emotions.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it for spoilers then. I'm just excited to see more. These were nice chapters. Very good. Very, very dramatic. And I enjoyed them. Okay, well, good. I think that's enough. Yeah, anyway, it was good. It was good episodes. It was good discussion. Next time we'll talk about chapters 71 and 72. As always, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.